Sometimes I think niggas just like to hear they self talk. But we responding to comments that I believe are illogical in the realm of argumentation when discussing or arguing with somebody. My initial comment, I think slavery whipped the patience out of black people. That's a conclusion based on all the observations in which I've done in life. Just my conclusion. Haven't given any reasoning yet, right? So if one was to argue with me, they might want to argue with the attempt to get some insight. They might want to ask me why I formulated that conclusion. But when people are not arguing for insight and arguing rather to be right, they're going to use that conclusion, disagree, and then feel the need to tell me why they disagree and why this conclusion that I came up with is wrong. Granted, in the realm of argumentation, it ain't no wrong or right. This is just my conclusion from my relativity. And now let's see the response down here. We'll start with Dink Mamba. Who do you know that has experienced slavery? Dumbass question. Why? Because what he's doing, he's trying to associate slavery and black people, or dissociate slavery and the black people of today. So, I say it's a dumb question because I regard to, again, he didn't ask me for none of my reasoning. If he asked for my reasoning, this question would not have to exist, because my reasoning for saying something like this is genetics and epigenetics. Epigenetics is the process of changing genes that have been instilled through you through the habits and through the makeup of your ancestors. Through the habits and through the makeup of your ancestors. That's the process of epigenetics. If you don't work at changing your gene expression, you will be stuck with the same gene expressions of your ancestors. So now, Dink, who didn't try to understand, if he was trying to understand, he would have got that context which came late. Dumbass question. I don't like entertaining questions, too dumbass questions, but I do. Dumbass question. The most important information we can exchange is genetically. Now, that gives him insight and understanding to this comment, and it erases that question, because you don't have me telling you about genetics tells him that you don't have to experience slavery firsthand to react in the manner in which your ancestors who was enslaved acted. A gene expression and an exchange of that information can simply have you reacting like your ancestor who was enslaved. That's simple. But he rebuts. Rather than understand that process again or ask more questions about that process, he says, so is that information you got from your genetics? Where's the info from your genetics before slavery when you were enslaving people? And I say that information's there too. Now, even entertaining this, he's taking me on a rabbit hole. Aside from the main point, right? Because again, the premise in this argument, or not the premise, but my formulation in this argument is I think slavery whipped the patience out of black people. Him asking me about my gene expressions before slavery or asking about my gene expressions aside from slavery is beside the point of me talking about what slavery did. So now he's going on a tangent, talking about some shit, trying to prove his point, thinking he's looking for insight. This is why the mind is a tricky and scary place. Motherfuckers don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. And then I said, when you argue, you like to bounce around many different places. Now I'm segueing because this nigga segueing. We not talking about the topic no more. We talking about other people's genetics or other ancestors who shaped our genetics aside from slavery. This comment is talking about slavery and how that shapes current genetics. And he says, the problem is you think I'm arguing. Another dumb comment, Because at the end of the day, you're challenging a position in which I made up there. You're not just asking me questions towards my position. You don't agree with my position. So we are arguing. He just don't want to say it. Argument I explain. Actually, I'm seeking insight to your claim. Hasn't done that yet. Well, look, if he's seeking insight to my claim, when I argue about predispositions and genetics, that's insight. He got insight. Insight is just information. Insight. Insight. My light, he's in the sight of it. I'm giving him insight. Genetics, predispositions. So, he says he's looking for insight. I gave him insight. Okay, I asked him, did you get any? You're looking? You should have found some insight, right? Not really. He ain't get no insight. Why he ain't get no insight, y'all? Why did he not get insight when insight is present? He was not trying to get insight. He was trying to challenge and be right about an opinion in which I don't even care to be right about. Then he says another smoke screen. So blacks weren't the only people enslaved. I'm not talking about other people in this comment. So it has nothing to, we don't have to talk about the other people. Slavery was common. Why are we the only ones affected? Now he's in his own head. I know slavery was common. And I know that we were not the only ones affected. Nowhere in this heading did I say other people weren't affected by slavery. He used his mind to create that context, which is not there. Illusionary. This is how niggas argue, though. Shout out to Dink Mamba. I love you, bro. But yeah, you the first. You the first. The first of many. Anybody coming with this type of rhetoric that's not sticking to the conclusion in argumentation, not having grounded premises, and sideswiping the comment by saying shit like other people were slaves. One of the richest slaves owners in America was black. That literally has nothing to do. This is a red herring. You're saying things to get me away from the initial argument. Who gives a fuck what the richest slave owner did? This does not shape how slavery whipped the patience out of black people at all. So another irrelevant comment to the argument. So here it goes now. That's not an argument, merely trying to cross-reference your ideas with facts. What facts? You're cross-referencing my ideas. What does it mean to cross-reference? You're not arguing, but you're cross-referencing. Think about the jargon in which you're using. You cross-reference in argumentation. But yeah, he's not arguing. He's just cross-referencing, y'all. Did he pull Webster's definition of what an argumentation is? So I guess to him, he's not arguing. To me, we are arguing. I'll leave it to y'all to decide if we are or not arguing. Then I say, nowhere did I say black people are exclusively affected. Because again, remember, he's commenting, saying things that have nothing to do with the argument, but he's trying to use his reasoning to denounce the argument subtly, without even saying it. He's going to do it later. Said, nowhere did I say black people are exclusively affected. So that nullifies the point of saying everybody is slaves. I just pointed out my people due to my relativity. If this is a problem for other communities, that's for them to figure out and understand, not for me to dwell. Yet again, another comment that gears away from the main point. This comment literally has nothing to do with other ethnic groups. You said genetics. That's a larger sample size, right? Unless we are proclaiming superior genes. Somebody help me. Because I did say genetics. And genetics are a larger sample size of black people is what he's trying to say. I don't know. Unless we are proclaiming superior genes, which we aren't. Another presumption he's doing in his world, in his head, which is fine. I said, feel free to say your point at any time. Because again, initial point, I think slavery whipped the patience out of black people. We're so far away from that now because Dink loves to go through these rabbit holes of trying to use other anecdotes in his mind that allegedly disprove my claim. I see. Seems more so a claim of feelings rather than facts. Terrible claim right here. He said this seems like a claim based on feelings. How I feel. I was mad when I wrote this. Oh man, I'm saying slavery must have whipped the patience out of black people. No, this is deduction. And for the people watching, I'll give y'all the deduction. Patience is a virtue. Virtue is your essence. Since slavery, since colonialism, since the time of white supremacy and its machine, our virtue has been stripped from us. And be it that our virtue has been stripped from us, it comes with a lot of connotations towards what it means to be virtuous, what it means to be living in your essence, your righteous path. So slavery, as a consequence of taking our virtuous nature, it stripped our patience. We've become less patient. We've become less loving in society. We've become more envious and less communal. From the history of Afrocentric people prior to colonialism and learning the communal nature, the bartering nature, the loving nature, from just getting anecdotes aside from Western society, this is what I formulated to make that conclusion. It had nothing to do with how I feel. I'm mad, sad, angry, happy, any of those things to conclude that statement. None of it was there. But because he can't understand it, he was never trying in the first place. He can't, and he was never trying to understand in the first place. He had to dismiss it for, oh, you just being emotional. Which is fine. I deal with humans. As a human, I deal with humans. So it's fine. It is a fact that black folks were victimized by slavery, not an emotion. Can we agree on that? Some people were victimized due to slavery. Westernized slavery, if we want to get specific, because he likes to bring up the Irish people and shit, or slavery from back in the day, which they were victimized too. But it is a fact that black folks were victimized by slavery. That's a fact. Unarguable, unless you stupid. It's a fact that gene exchange of our predecessors play a part in our behavior today. When your daddy and your mama make you, you take their genes. They got their genes from their daddy and their mama. This is information on the highest spectrum being exchanged. So if your daddy is hard-headed and your mama is hard-headed, they giving you information that might make you hard-headed. That's a fact to me. I don't know how y'all niggas do facts. That's a grounded conclusion, I would say. The first one is a fact. The second one is as closest to a fact you can get once you understand genetics and epigenetics. Grounded conclusion or fact. Take it how you want. I don't formulate conclusions based off emotions. Now, if that's how you took it, sorry for you. Maybe you should try harder at understanding. I can't help you niggas understand what I'm saying. I could just say the shit. Then I can give you insight as to why I said the shit. But if you can't listen, you can't understand, ain't nothing I could do. Then somebody comes in logical. Shout out to Kevin. As a former mock trial, you're cross-examining. He says he's not arguing while cross-examining with evidence, which is essentially, thank you, finally some logic in the building. Essentially, that's arguing. At its essence, cross-examining, my opinion, is arguing. But if you're challenging someone's position, that's arguing, debating. Thank you, Kevin, for supplying logic. Dink surely ignored him. Then another question. So, you're only connected to black people victimized through slavery. Reaching. Why are you reaching? Only connected to black people victim. No, I didn't say that. Again, why are you putting words in my mouth? I'm connected to all life forms around me. I'm connected to this inanimate desk. We are all one. But my relative standpoint, melanated being, I speak more so frequently for the people who look like me. Hence, this comment ain't for everybody. It's for black folks. Hence the comment. Now, your need to associate these comments with that, saying I'm only connected to black people, fallacious. Nothing more than fallacious, which is why I say another stupid question. But okay. No, I'm connected to all energies. This comment is addressing a specific demographic that I have more relativity with. Just what I told y'all. I don't have to speak for all people at all times, which is why this question sucks ding-a-ling. I've done mock trials and real trials. Oh, he did comment. We can wordplay it however we like it. This isn't that, though. This is simply learning how someone applies logic. Do you even know what logic is, Dink? It's the difference between reasoning and logic. Logic is deduction that this universe presents to us. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4 because that's how the universe presents these objects to us. That's logic, deduction at its purest form. I think you have reasoning. I don't think you have logic. It's not that the question sucks dingling, the initial statement does. Hey, that's fine. Your claim is black people had the patience. No, that's not my claim. Whipped out of them while being enslaved. That's pretty offensive and ridiculous. My claim is not that black people had the patience ripped out of them. It's not just being whipped. Even though I did say whipped. When I said that, it's funny though. This is context and I can help him understand. And this is where insight helps. I didn't literally mean whipped. I didn't literally mean whip. Metaphorically, I mean the whole slavery in its totality stripped the virtuous nature. Not just specifically the physical whippings, but that is a part of stripping that virtuous nature. So, yeah, not just the whipping, but in its entirety, yes, slavery did whip the virtue out of niggas. Now, him saying it's offensive and ridiculous, that's his claim. He will have to support it. He will have to bring grounds to it, which he's probably not going to bring. But, we got more. I don't think slavery did anything to black people that they can't overcome if they choose to. I don't agree. I don't disagree with that. I never said they couldn't. I never said we can't do nothing. I never said we can't overcome what has been done to us. But when I make this statement, this is an observational analysis. So far, we haven't overcome it. So far, we haven't overcome it. And yes, it does take that individual mind state to overcome it. The individual mind state can enhance the collective if all individuals tap into their self to have that mind state of not being held back by white supremacy. I get where he's trying to go. He's trying to assert this as a victim blaming comment. Oh, you're just victim blaming. You're implying a lesser will. I understand how he sees it. It's just not what this is. This is just the formulation from the evidence I have in my history. And in saying that formulation, I think it's pretty accurate. Black people lack patience today in America. Can't stay in line for 2 minutes. It's a virtue. Black people lack virtue in general. When we are virtuous, we become patient. Patience is a virtue, right? We become loving. All these things are virtues. But let's go back. All right. But to some, it has become a staple in their minds. I would agree. But to me, that's not a staple in my mind. I don't even consider myself, quote unquote, any of these labels, let alone black. He might not know that, but he will assume that based on the comment. He's going to assume 10,000 things based on comments. You're either a victim or a survivor. You can be both. If you've survived the Holocaust, you are a victim and a survivor. If you've survived the oppression in the 1960s, you were a victim and a survivor. So this is just a false statement to say to put it in a binary language of saying you're either a victim or a survivor. No, you can be both, literally. Fact. That's a fact versus a bad claim he made. Black people survived in some till this day remain victims. This would be my argument. What is his argument? See, niggas don't even be having arguments. His argument is that black people survived. That's a truth. That's not an argument. And some till this day remain victims. That's a truth too. That's not an argument. Those are premises. He don't even know what an argument is. And this argument don't even contradict my argument. So he's arguing about something that has nothing to do with the top. I don't think slavery did anything to black people that they can't overcome if they choose to. I agree. But to some, it has become a staple in their minds. I agree. You're either a victim or a survivor. I don't agree. That's a stupid assertion. Black people survived and some till this day remain victims. I agree. This would be my argument. What is your argument towards the... Oh my God. You see how niggas argue. For the most part, it deviates away from the main point, and then they just go on tangents based on their reasoning, not the principles of logic, their reasoning. That's all he's doing. As soon as you use the word victim, terrible argument. Now that's just my statement, not based on deduction, but just more opinionated, not even with the need to support. It's just like communicating regularly right here. I'm stepping out of the realm, just talking shit. Terrible argument. But now back in the realm of logic. Nowhere did I say black folks can't fix their condition. It's facts. Or are bound by it. Facts. Regardless of mind state, black folks were victims to white supremacy and are still being victimized. If white supremacy is around now, black and brown and people of color are being victimized by it. Whether or not they take the victimized mind state. I can be tangibly victimized and have the mind state that nothing can hold me back. These are two different realms of existing. The mind state, the tangible physical realm. All I'm pointing out is the physical realm, not the intangible mind state realm. He's pointing out the mind state realm, which I catch and understand. He probably don't think I catch it. So regardless of mind states, black folks were victim to white supremacy and are still being victimized. That's grounded conclusion. The truth has nothing to do with individual mind states. Different realm. Then I get on them about the victim shit. Truthfully, you're trying to be right without knowing you're trying to. That's what I formulate from all this shit he's doing. Because seeking insight was the last thing he's trying to do. Then we go down the rabbit hole. We go down the rabbit hole because that's all this subject does. I'm just showing y'all. This is going to be my first example of arguing with you niggas on Facebook, just seeing how y'all opinion is. And I want y'all to get my tonality and my energy. Think Mamba, shout out to you. I'm going to tag you. Highest of vibes. It's love. You feel me? It's just in the realm of argumentation. I feel that you are so hell-bent on projecting your opinion that it gets away from the essence of this conversation. We didn't even really talk about why or not this comment is valid or invalid. We didn't even really get to this argument because you want to go to questions like, who do you know has experienced slavery, to try to lead me to why this is already a bad comment. Argumentation, man. The argumentation for for kids damn near, you feel me? But whatever. I'm just posting this shit right into Facebook so people can get my analysis of all this shit that I be watching when I be on Facebook. Emotions is the last thing being used when it comes to discerning y'all niggas takes. Most of this shit is love. Excuse me. Most of this shit is love and for the intention to connect. So I don't think this is just bad service. Me and Dink. Bad service, not good connection. He's not understanding. I'm understanding some, but I'm fully not understanding him either. You know what I'm saying? To hit to his right. You know what I'm saying? It's a two-way street if we're not communicating thoroughly. But let me know your thoughts and your comments. Dink, let me know, nigga. You always asking these questions and I'll be like, what the fuck that gotta do with the motherfucking post? Peace.